Today we'll be installing Moog tie rod ends and Merchant Automotive tie rod sleeves onto my LB7 Duramax. Let's go ahead and open these boxes, inventory their contents, and perform a general inspection to make sure everything's in working order. First up, we have the outer tie rods. Comes with the outer tie rod. Comes pre-tapped for a grease fitting. Part of our general inspection, we'll just kind of move around the bearing a little bit. Check for grinding. Make sure everything is seated nice and firm. It does come with a little bit of grease in there, but you definitely want to add more grease when you get these installed. They also come with a brand new castle nut, cotter pin, and a grease zerk fitting. And the same contents came in the other one, so that's good. Go ahead and check this one out. It's a little more stiff, but it's not grindy, and it seems like it's pretty well seated. So those look all right. Let's go ahead and check out the inner tie rods. Pretty standard. The nice thing about these Moog tie rods, they were made a little bit thicker than the OEM counterparts. The inner tie rod bearing is also redesigned and upgraded, whereas the OEMs were designed with an inherent flaw that although they did their job for quite a few years, if you got to change your tie rods, you might as well go for the upgraded, thicker castings and upgraded bearing. Another nice thing is these come with Loctite already on them. Feels good. Important to note, these things come with a brand new jam nut. But since we're running sleeves, we won't be needing those. Feels pretty good. Let's go ahead and check out these tie rod sleeves. So these are very well built, stainless steel. Merchant Automotive stamp on there, and this is where you can place your wrench to tighten them down. Two sleeves and some anti-seize that you can apply onto your tie rods. Let's go ahead and see what everything looks like when it's all out. Go ahead and show you how these sleeves fit onto the inner tie rods. It is pretty self-explanatory. Slide it on, it spins on nice and easy. It's important that you get these tie rod sleeves if you're going to get the Moog tie rods. Because these tie rods are a little bit thicker than the OEM tie rods. And because of that, not all the tie rod sleeves out there are going to be able to fit this wider diameter. Merchant Automotive obviously works, and I believe one or two other brands work as well. One thing that I found interesting is that if you go onto the Duramax store site, you can find these tie rods with the kryptonite tie rod sleeves, and these tie rods are labeled as severe duty. And what I found interesting is that if you try to buy the Kryptonite tie rod sleeves individually by themselves, that they say they will only fit the OEM tie rods. So I'm not sure if a DMAX store bores out their Kryptonite tie rods before putting them or selling them with the Moog tie rods, or what's going on there. If you are able to put your Kryptonite tie rod sleeves on your Moog tie rods, go ahead and drop a comment down in the comment section and let me know, because I'm very curious. If you're new to tie rod sleeves, you might be asking yourself, why would I need to get them when my old tie rods lasted me nearly 20 years? Well, if your tie rods lasted you nearly 20 years, then you're probably doing all right. And if you have to replace your tie rods, you'll probably be just fine getting the upgraded Moog parts and be done with it. For those that spend a lot of time off-roading or live in an area with a lot of potholes, or spend a lot of time in four-wheel drive climbing up old logging roads, or if you're a sled puller or a drag racer that likes to do a lot of boosted launches, or maybe you live in a snowy area and this scenario might sound familiar to you. You're in four-wheel drive, you live in a snowy area, you're driving down a hill, you're trying to come to a brisk stop, and instead of stopping, you slide right into a curb and bend your tie rod. In those instances, a tie rod sleeve, otherwise known as a tie rod stiffener, would be an excellent addition. So for those of you that do boosted launches and are running stock tie rods, you'll definitely want to at least get a tie rod sleeve such as these, or HD tie rods. And the reason being is, when you're in four-wheel drive and you launch in four-wheel drive, your front tires have a tendency to bend inwards. And when they bend inwards, they can bend or snap your tie rods. And that is always less than an ideal situation. It can be very expensive and very dangerous. So what these sleeves allow you to do is, so you're doing a boosted launch and your tires still want to bend inwards, and instead of snapping or bending your tie rod, that tie rod will be able to flex within the sleeve, but the sleeve will keep the tie rod from snapping or bending, so it'll remain nice and stiff, nice and straight. You won't have to get in alignment, and you won't bust anything. For the off-road guys, which is primarily what I need these things for, because I spend a lot of time up in the mountains and on logging roads in areas where there's an excessive amount of potholes. Although I've gotten pretty good at dodging all those potholes, every once in a while I'm just going a little too fast and my front tire nails a big old pothole and jars my whole steering system, and that brings a lot of potential to mess up my tie rods and a lot of other components as well. So hopefully this will help save everything. At this point in the video, we're going to move on to installation. And for those of you already familiar with installing tie rods, I'll go ahead and put the links in the description so you can check these outers, inners, and sleeves out for yourself, see if they're right for your application. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button so we can get this content out to other people that might find it useful. Hit subscribe to see future videos, as well as feel free to stick around for the duration of this video while we install these tie rods. Alright, so here we are under the truck. As you can see, the tie rod is pretty dirty. So we're going to go ahead and hit this with a wire brush, clean up that castle nut, and get to work. And I am actually going to hit this inner with some brake clean because it's covered in grease. We'll PB blast this once it's done. Okay, you can see the castle nut, cotter pin, everything's nice and PB blasted. So we'll start by taking out that cotter pin. to remove the castle nut. I need a 21 millimeter. And there she goes. So we'll go ahead and loosen that up. Oh, and by the way, I did not loosen up the jam nut. I just needed a little bit of heat persuasion. So I'm going to go ahead and loosen that side up and show you what it looks like when it's out. And for this side, we're just going to use big old crescent. There she is. And there you have it. The old, the new, and the upgraded. I have no idea how old this guy is. It is pretty rusted, but as you see, I've kept it very well greased in the couple of years that I've owned it, at least. It's like a standard OEM part. It's actually not too bad. It's a pretty thick piece. I don't know if that's standard OEM. I mean, it looks like an OEM part, but it could be a nice aftermarket OEM, kind of like the Moog part. But that is what they look like when they are side by side. Another thing real quick here, you might be wondering why I'm changing my tie rods, besides that they're super old. This summer, this tie rod, back in here, the inner tie rod, started clicking and popping. Sharp turns, and up on the mountains. I don't know if you can hear this, but it's really grindy. But it's only a matter of time before that completely snapped off and left me high and dry. So we need a new tie rod regardless, especially before we go out on the mountains. That's one place I do not want to break down. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get this measured up. So here's why these two parts look so similar. This is a part I'm taking off is a old Moog part. So it's the old style. Looks pretty much the same. So I have no clue how long this has been on the truck, but it's been there a while. Okay, almost done measuring these out. All right, we have them the same length, at least good enough to get to the alignment shop. We got our Zerk grease fitting in, and now we're ready to put this back on the truck over there. All right, we're gonna start by threading the inner in, and that'll give us enough room to put the outer where it goes. So it's going to take a little bit. Okay, we got her tightened in there. So now what we got to do is put the outer tie rod in. And now all we gotta do is grease up the Zerk, both ends, which is done. I think it looks pretty good. Hell of a lot nicer than it was, and it'll be a lot more reliable on the trails. So the other side is exactly the same thing, so we're not going to film that one. But I'll give you a little update after I've driven around a little bit. So I'm going to go grease these up. I'm going to do the other side and then take her for a spin and see how she do. I'll let you guys know. Okay, we're all done here, guys. We have both tie rods on. They look pretty slick. Hell of a lot stronger than just the tie rods by themselves. Blown one changed over here. New Zerk fittings on there. New castle nut, new cotter pin, new everything. Now all we gotta do is grease it up, take it to the alignment shop. And that will conclude the video for today. Smash that like button so we can get this content out to other people who might find it useful. Subscribe if you would like to see more videos like this in the future. And feel free to check out my channel to see what other kind of content I have for you. We'll see you on the next one.